Hi everyone. So today we'll be learning how to add fractions. Okay. So there is one important thing to understand before we start actually adding the fractions. Okay. So let's try to understand it with the help of an example. Okay. So suppose if we have two shapes, okay. Let's say I have two similar shapes, okay. Okay, this one I divide equally into four parts. Okay, and I say that represent it as a fraction. So what will we say? Like we studied in the previous class, we can say the red portion can be represented as two parts out of the four parts. Okay, and now suppose I divide this into two equal parts, okay, and I just shade one portion, half of it, okay. So how can we represent this as a fraction? So we can say the red portion can be represented one part out of the two equal parts, okay. Now if we have to add both these fractions, so we say 2 by 4 plus 1 by 2, okay. Suppose if we do this. So do you think can we do this? So if we say, some people might say that we can do 2 plus 1 is 3, okay, and 4 plus 2 is 6, okay. So what does this mean? Okay, so if we take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay. So we have a similar box. We've divided into 6 equal parts, and out of these 3 are colored. This is what the fraction represents, okay. 3 portions are shaded out of 6, okay. So if we reduce it into the simplest form, what does simplest form mean? Okay, that there is no common divisor greater than 1 which is common to numerator and denominator. We covered equivalent fractions and converting to simplest form in the ratios chapter as well. Okay, so we see the common factor for 3 and 6 is 3. So if we divide it by 3, what do we get? 1 by 2. 3 divided by 3 is 1 and 6 divided by 3 is 2. So we get 1 by 2, and which is a fair point because 1 by 2 means half. So we had 6 out of this, half are colored and half are not. So we can say we can represent it by half. But if we see here, okay, half was already we had. If we are adding something more to the half, obviously the value should be greater than half. How can it be half? So something is wrong in the way we are adding these things. Okay, why is it wrong? Because we are adding some parts which are not equal, okay, because these parts are smaller and this is a bigger part. We cannot just add them and say they are three parts because they are different things, okay. So if I say I have, you know, two apples, okay, and I have, two pencils or two crayons, okay. So if I say add these things, you cannot add these things. You will still have to say you have two apples and two crayons, okay, because there's nothing common for them to combine and say it's one unit, okay. So similarly in fractions, because we are dividing it into different types of parts, the portions are different sizes, we cannot directly add it. So that is why we have a concept of same denominator, okay, same denominator, okay. So what does this mean? same denominator. Okay, now let's try to solve this with the same denominator. So we have the same problem. We have to add 2 plus 4 and 1 plus 2. Okay, so to be able to make it equal, okay, we have to make the denominators equal. So now what does this mean? It means if the denominators are equal, we'll be dividing them into both the things into equal portions. Okay, so now how do we make it as equal denominators? Okay, we try to find the LCM of 4 and 2. Okay, so what is the LCM? So we write first 4 or 5 multiples of each of the numbers. So for 2 we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, and for 4 we have 4, 8, 12, 16. And then we try to find the least common multiple, that is 4 in this case. Okay, so we can get the bigger numbers also, but that will make our calculations and everything too much complicated and bigger, and eventually whenever we are giving the answer, we have to give it in the shortest or the simplest form. So that's why we go with the least common multiple. Okay, so here we have 4. Now what is the next step? We have to see what we have to do to make the denominator as 4. So in the first one, denominator is already 4. So we write it as it is. 2 by 4 plus, now 2. What do we need to make it as 4? We need to multiply it by 2. Okay. So, and we know if we don't want to change the question, if we are multiplying or dividing denominator by some number, we have to do the same with the numerator. So we multiply both 1 and 2 with 2. Okay. So what do we get? 1 into 2 is 2 and 2 into 2 is 4. Okay. So now when the denominators are same, we can directly say when we add, we can say the denominator is 4 and now we just add the numerators. So 2 plus 2 will become 4 divided by 4, which comes out to be 1. Okay, and how do we say it is correct? Because now we had two things. Okay, divided into 4 equal parts, 2 by 4. First 2 parts out of 4 were shaded, plus another 2 parts out of 4 were shaded, which gives us one complete shaded unit. Okay, so our answer should have been 1, and which we are getting it correctly. Okay, so we'll do some more practice questions in our next class and use this formula of why we just use this to understand why we need the same denominator. Now using that, we'll do some more practice questions. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.